Chris Mad Dog Russo. You'll find him on his Sirius XM channel. It's called Mad Dog Radio. Also High Heat on MLB Network. And yes, he's on First Take on ESPN. He knows what it's like to be part of that ESPN family that I let go of 17 years ago, Chris. How are you?
Hello there, Danny, and I missed you last week. I wanted to come by. You had an audience there and everything else. We couldn't work out the schedule. You know how much I enjoy coming on, and I missed it, so we make up for it today. How things going, okay?
Everything's good. Let me start with this. The 49ers would have won if.
I think the 49ers would have won the game if they did a little something off that interception in the third quarter. They had momentum. The game was 10-3. He throws the pick. They get a first down at the Kansas City 44-yard line. Even a field goal there, going up by 2 scores, I think they may have won the game. I thought that was really an opportunity. Those 3 plays, they ran the ball, they threw the ball, they had a penalty, and they threw the ball constantly. Dan, did you know that they had the ball at 10-3 and 10-6? They ran 6 plays, and 5 of them were passing.
Yeah, no.
I probably would have run the ball a little bit. I think that is where they gave Mahomes a chance to hang in the game. And I think you and I have, you especially, we're old. We've seen all these guys play. You give this kind of guy that kind of amount of time, he's going to eventually figure it out and how to beat you. And I think that's what kind of happened to San Francisco.
Do you look at Mahomes differently today?
No, I don't, Dan. You know me. I said the last month or so, he's the best quarterback I've ever seen. And that includes Brady. That doesn't mean he had as better career as Brady, 7 titles. But as far as just playing the game, I'm taking nobody but him. Hey, that includes Montana, Unitas, Otto Graham, you name it. I think he's that good. And yesterday, he didn't have 1 drive. He had 2 drives. I mean, he had the 1 drive to tie it, and then he had another drive to win it. I mean, he almost like he did Joe Montana against Cincinnati twice in the same game. A guy is an unbelievable player. He's the best quarterback that I don't think I'm telling anything you don't know. You want to argue that Brady's still better because he beat him twice head-to-head, 7 championships to 3. You could argue that. I'm not debating it, but as far as my thought process from a quarterback, from what I've seen, he's the best quarterback in those spots. I pick him to be my guy if my life was on the line.
Yeah, he's the GOAT in waiting. He's in the on-deck circle. And you do have to acknowledge Brady's greatness over 20 years and, 7 Super Bowls that you end up winning. Half of his career you're playing in the Super Bowl. But I'm wondering about, we acknowledged or anointed Tiger. He was the GOAT in waiting with Jack. I don't know how far into his career where we went, uh-oh, Jack, be careful with all your majors. I don't think we ever acknowledged LeBron as the GOAT in waiting with Michael Jordan, did we?
No, we did not. That's a very good point. Now, LeBron, remember, also lost a couple of NBA finals early in his career. San Antonio beat him 4 straight times. No offense to LeBron, but that was, and then he had a bad series against Dallas. You remember that when he lost in 6 games at Nowitzki?
Yeah.
So you did all the celebration stuff and everything. So LeBron got off to a little bit of a slow start in the finals compared to Jordan. Jordan's first final against Magic, he won, 4 or 5 years into his career. So, I mean, it's a little different. So right out of the gate, he was working behind Jordan. Tiger played great right away. Mahomes is only 28 years of age. He's already won 3. You're right, Tiger stalled. Part of it is his own, injury, his own issues. I don't know if Mahomes can get hurt. Don't get me wrong. I mean, who knows? But I think he's got his act together off the field where he's not going to get in himself any trouble. I mean, you actually think he's not going to win at least a couple of more of these things? I mean, they were talking about 3-peat before the game was basically over last night. They wanted that 3rd one. I think he may not get to 7. That's a hard number to get to. But I'm not evaluating this just on the amount of titles. I know you can. If that's the case, Russo is the best of all time. So in basketball, I don't want to evaluate it quite on that level. I'm just evaluating at the peak of his career. I'd rather have him than Brady or Montana. And part of it's running, scrambling. Look at the way he scrambled last night in the 4th quarter or in the overtime. He had 2 huge runs for 30 yards. One on 4th and 1, he got an 8-yard run, and the other one he had a 17-yard run and got him down to the 29-yard line. I love the way he plays. And I'll tell you right now, Dan, if you bet against him, you're going to lose. I bet against him against the Bills. I should check that. I bet for him against the Bills. I bet on him against the Ravens. And I bet on him last night. 3 times in a row. Games could have gone either way. He was probably the difference in all 3, especially in the first and the last. And, you win. He's just so – and the fact that they were not favored in this game,
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I'm getting 2 points. How could he be getting 2 points in a Super Bowl? So I bet him and I won. Thanks for me.
Situational football, he's as good as anybody I've ever seen. And that is, what do I need to do in this moment? And that is, situational running. He's not known as a running quarterback, but
Right.
it feels like we come away in these big games where we go, he kept the drive alive with his legs.
Yep.
And I thought he was more Brady-like this year than any other season because they didn't have a high-powered offense. He sort of was like, we have to keep up with our defense. We have to score enough, that our defense is really what is great. And if you didn't get them this year, when I thought that they were
Vulnerable.
a good team, but yes, absolutely vulnerable, I just wonder what it's going to be like, the next couple of years. And we have a dynasty here. In modern terminology,
Yes, we do.
This is a dynasty.
100%. He had to win the extra playoff game this year in minus 40-degree weather. He had to win 2 road playoff games. He hasn't had to do that before. I agree with you. He can be a game manager when he wants to be, which is important. And also think about this. He throws the interception in the early part of the third quarter. They've only scored 3 points. No big deal. He forgets about it. And he goes right. I thought that, you know what, Danny? I did say the drive, that punt, that fumbled punt was a huge play in the game.
Yep.
I mean, that's when the game got good. The game was awful.
Yes, it was.
Awful. It was a terrible football game into that punt. And then everything went nuts. It was 10-6. There was nothing going on. There were 8 negative plays, 4 apiece. And then it hits the kid's leg. The kid doesn't fall on it. Chiefs automatically score, take the lead. And that is when that game became haywire. And that's when it became dramatic. That period right there.
The Niners taking the ball to start overtime.
Yeah, that's a mistake. That's a mistake.
Why?
Don't you think so?
Well, in the moment, I thought I understood what the philosophy could be. I didn't know what Kyle Shanahan was thinking. It's, okay, we can put pressure on Mahomes. Hopefully our defense, worst case scenario, they kick a field goal. Now we can win the game with the third drive of overtime. So we have it, they have it, now we get it. But people are starting, there seems to be this story that's evolving. Did the Niners understand overtime?
Well, 2 things on that. First off, I forgot about the scenario too, because it's the first time we've ever seen it. We've never seen this before. They haven't had an overtime. They had the 1 overtime, and in that scenario, both teams didn't get the ball. So I got a little confused. There were 12 seconds to go in the first overtime. I forgot that it just kind of ran in.
Yeah, but Shanahan was involved in the other overtime game.
Yeah, that's true too. He was involved in that. The problem that I have with him, first off, I don't want to give Mahomes 4 downs. That's the first thing. Second thing is, it's like having a great closer. You're on the road. It's 2-2 in the 9th. And because the bottom of the lineup's up, you see if you can buy an inning and then use the closer when the heart of the order comes up in the bottom of the 10th. Let's get to the bottom of the 10th before you worry about the bottom. Let's make sure you get out of the 9th inning first. You might score 10 runs in the top of the 10th. Why do you sit there? You don't know if there's a third overtime that's going to be needed, a third possession. So why get wrapped up in it? Get the ball, kick off. Maybe on 4th and 10, he's got a punt, and he got a hell of a shot. And I don't want to give him that 4th down. And he did convert a 4th down on the scramble. Now, here's a good question. Let's say that was 4th and a yard, Kansas City's first possession at the 30-yard line. You think Reed punts? What do you think he goes for it? He probably goes for it, right?
At Kansas City's 30-yard line?
Well, the first, that when he went for it there, it was like at the 35-yard line. The 4th and 1 where he got the 8-yard, he scrambled for the 8.
Yeah.
That was a 4th down run. in overtime. Let's say that's the first possession.
Oh, okay.
Does he punt or does he go for it?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what Andy would do there.
He has to go for it if he's down by 3.
Yes.
You make them make a decision if it's their first possession, if you put him in that spot.
Vegas as a Super Bowl city, what grade would you give the city?
Well, considering the fact, first off, the weather was awful, but, that's not their fault. There's so much to do. I went to U2. I heard you talking about that a minute or two ago. I love the Sphere. There's plenty going on. My wife was with me. She went to the Mob Museum. Ferris wheel, the gondola. There's a million hotels. You can't help but find a good restaurant. It's relatively compact, so it doesn't take you 9 million hours to get somewhere. Allegiant is right there, in downtown, so that works out as well. I mean, I think very good. Listen, the West Coast is harder if you got to get up first thing in the morning. The travel is a little tricky for guys like you and me who live back on the East Coast. But that's, it could be the other way for the folks who live on the West Coast if the game's in Atlanta. So, very, very good. Yeah, I don't think there's anything. I mean, it's a lot of people that's going to be there anyway. So it not only do you have the Super Bowl crowd, you got a lot of other people to begin with. And I leave it to me to catch a bug. So I have been under the weather since basically Friday morning. So that, but when you sit on the tables and you play blackjack and try to draw a 5 against a 10 with the dealer sitting there with your 16, you're liable to not feel good. So there you go. But hell of a spot. It sounds like you loved it too, right? From that standpoint?
Yeah. I mean, and I always tell my guys, nobody cares if the weather is not good. Like, you're at the Super Bowl, make the best of it. And we were outside the whole time, where it was in the upper 30s, low 40s when we were doing our show. In fact, Joe Montana came on and he goes, I didn't know you were outside. He didn't have a coat. I go, Joe.
Wow.
We're on the pool deck. What part of, did you think it was an indoor swimming pool? And I gave him, he was promoting pneumonia medicine while he's outside without a coat on. I went and got a blanket and we covered up Joe Montana.
Oh my God. Oh my God. And you're right about the cold. I always thought one of the funnest Super Bowls I ever was at was Minneapolis.
Great job.
Snowmobiling. They prepared you for it. Everything was compact. The hotel had an indoor basketball court. I mean, I always felt that was one of the better ones, and it's cold there. So it's and I was there twice. Obviously, I was referring to the first time I was there the second time too. They've had 2 there. But yes, that's the cold is part of the deal. Again, I went to the Golden Steer one night. Place was jammed.
How great is that place?
Did you go or no?
Yeah, I brought my wife. We sat in the Sinatra booth.
There you go. We were back in that room. I had 24 of them sitting there.
Yeah.
With the Sinatra stuff and everything else.
Yeah.
And CBS did a great job yesterday with its prelim, because that My Way with the families, that was really good. You see, that was excellent.
Yeah, I love that.
And the CBS at 1:00, the retrospective on his NFL Today was
love
good
that too. Love that too. Once again, I brought this up to McAfee, Jim Nantz. I'll bring it up to you. Brent Musburger should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the Pete Rozelle Award for contributions to the game, and he's not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
He got it. Did you hear Nance?
Yes.
He got it. He got it this year. He just got in.
No, he said we should get him in.
Oh, I thought he said he was in.
No, because I brought it up to Nance, and I said we got to get him into the Hall of Fame, so he brought it up during the game.
Oh, I thought he meant the fact that he actually got the vote.
No.
How is he not in? I've said that 1,000 times. That's the biggest disgrace in the world. Brent Musburger, who's covered the NFL since 1963 and put that NFL Today on the map for 15 years, and he doesn't have the Rozelle Award? I was under the impression that man said it on the air that he got. Oh, he did.
And it's a media award. He started the pregame show.
Absolutely right, Danny. Who got it this year?
I don't know. Do you know who got it this year, Paulie? I know Andrea Kramer's gotten it. Jim Nance has gotten it. Chris Berman might have gotten it.
Joe Buck.
Joe Buck, I mean, Brent Musburger started it all. And he was talking about gambling before anybody was talking about gambling. Although I thought maybe that was going to keep him out, that the NFL, now they've embraced gambling, they should embrace Brent Musburger. Yes, Paulie?
100%. I thought he was in. Now you're telling me something different.
No,
I thought Nancy's
need a campaign here.
Yeah, in the past few years, Dick Ebersol's gotten in, James Brown's gotten in, Tom Jackson, Al Michaels, Jim Nantz a decade ago.
How does James Brown get in doing the same job that Brent did, but he started this in the 60s?
John Facenda, on and on. John Madden, of course. Many, many more media people.
Yeah, okay. So if you want to pick up the crusade,
I'm going to pick it up, and I've screamed about that before. Good job on your part. I was under the impression it is an absolute unmitigated disaster that they can't figure out a way to get Brent in the Hall of Fame. He is the NFL today, and he is the pregame show.
Yes.
Case closed.
Yes. All right. You're going to be fired up. You're going to be fired up this afternoon?
Oh, if I can't do a talk show today, I'm like you. I should quit if I can't get on here today to talk for 3 hours. I promise.
Thank you, buddy.
Okay, buddy.
Thank you, Dog. That's Chris Mad Dog Russo, host of Mad Dog Unleashed on Sirius XM. You can see him on the Baseball Network, High Heat, and he's on First Take, usually on Wednesdays with Stephen A. Smith.